Hello, HCA practicum students for the spring 2018 year. All right, this is first week of class. Practicum is a actual class, and wanted to go over some of the questions that have been coming up with you guys in this first week. So hopefully this will answer a lot of the things as your practicum is getting up and rolling. But just to touch base on kind of our progress so far. So it looks like we're all good. Clinical agreements, we're all set on that. All of you at this point should be attending practicum, should have worked out a schedule with your preceptor on the days that you're going to be there. Now, that's really up to you on how you want to schedule that, up to you and your preceptor to find out really what works for you. The key point in this is that you get the 120 hours required for this course by the end of the semester. So we got 16 weeks to do that. Roughly, is about 7, 8 hours a week. Again, depends on how you want to do that. But by no means do you have to do 8 hours a week. You might want to do 16 hours a week, get done sooner. You might have some weeks where you got other things going on, and maybe between you and your preceptor, you work out a schedule. Maybe you're working a little bit lighter. I don't really care how you do it. It's up to you, as long as you get the 120 hours in by the end of the semester. So hopefully you've got your schedules out there and you are already working in your clinical sites. As far as Castle Branch, I know many of you are still working through that. Looks like one of you is completely done, so congratulations on that. But continue to work through your Castle Branch requirements. I know many of you are doing uh, your clinical sites, your practicum sites are requiring some additional background checks on their end. That is okay. Do whatever they want. It's kind of the whatever they want to ask is pretty much. If they want to do a background check on you as well, that's fine. We also are obligated, for example, to do background checks. So make sure you're still working through both the college's requirements on Castle Branch, and then also whatever requirements that your clinical site is asking from you. If you have any questions about that, I know all of you are working with Angie on that. Continue to work with Angie, and she'll get you through that. She's talking to me daily, pretty much about Castle Branch if there's any issues. So, but continue to kind of grind through that process. I would say the goal would be to have all your Castle Branch in a perfect world, Castle Branch would have be completed this week. But let's try to get this all done within the next week or two, and that should make us nice and compliant with what we have to do in our due diligence and placing you out in the practicum site. If any issues were to come up, then we'd have to address those. What kind of issues could come up? Well, historically, they've been things that might have shown up on a criminal background check. So if something were to come up on there, we just need to have our due diligence on that, and whatever justification, etc., might be required if anything popped up on those. All right, so that looks good. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this course itself. It's pretty simple. The requirements of this course has a syllabus, and the syllabus is attached to this email. It's pretty much these essential items. You do them, you get the A for the course. So let's take a look at what those are. Again, this syllabus, kind of the standard format that you normally have, that you've seen, and let's go right to the grade, the assignments, if you will. Biggest thing is the 120 hours. I already talked about that. Make sure you do that. You do have weekly log sheets, which you'll submit to the Canvas course that will be appearing today for you. If you don't see it, let me know. And then you'll just submit that as an assignment every week. I really don't care what day you do it. Just make sure you do it every week on a consistent basis while you're out in clinical until you get the 120 hours. The reason for the log sheet is it just if there is an issue with getting hours in, hopefully we can get that identified early, and if we need to fix it, we can. Very rarely does it happen, but it has happened to students where simply time has run out and they have not been able to get the 120 hours in. So it's kind of just making a check, if you will, to make sure that you are progressing towards that 120. Now, you might have a week where you only do 4 hours, maybe 2 hours. That's okay. That's okay. But if we see a consistent pattern of that, where all of a sudden it looks like, wow, how are we going to get to 120 now? It looks like it's going to be pretty difficult for the student. We want to try to catch that earlier rather than later. So do your log sheets, submit to Canvas, do those weekly. You're going to have a site evaluation of student. That means that the preceptor is going to evaluate you right around the 100-hour mark when you're almost done. You're winding up, you're at the 100th hour. You're going to identify a preceptor. Some of you are working with one people, you might be working with multiple people. Identify a preceptor that you've worked with over your experience. You're going to give them this 4 or 5 page document. They're going to fill that out. It's kind of an evaluation of you, and that will be submitted back to the college. Now, you are being graded just on the completion of the item, not what the item says. Okay, so it's if they say, let's say the person was an average person, you know, uh, or they say that you're the greatest person, in the world, doesn't make a difference. As long as that item was completed, you're going to get the 400 points. Now, the value of that particular assignment is that you do see that for some self-reflection and possible improvement. All right, so we've got that. Um, Same thing with the hours. If you get the 120 hours, you get the 400 points. If you have 110 hours at the end of the course, you get 0 points. So this is a binary. It's either you get 0 or all of it, just for the completion of the item. Next one is the executive summary. This will be a 2-page requirement where you're just going to summarize the project or projects that you've worked on or the experience that you've had at the clinical site, what you did, what you learned, and how that will be applicable towards your future career path. Just answering those 3 questions easily fills 2 pages. That's all you need to do. You'll submit that. You'll get the 100 points. You'll submit that in the Canvas course that appears today, and you'll do that towards the end of your assignment, towards the end of your clinical time. And then another thing I'm going to ask you to do is a weekly reflection. This will be about 100 words where you're just going to tell me how things went. No APA, don't worry about grammar or anything like that, but just kind of tell me kind of a journaling assignment, a reflection assignment, how things went for the week. Occasionally, we can, if there's any issues, sometimes we can detect them early and have you work with your preceptor to fix those and maybe give you some ideas about how that might help. Or anything else that you wish to kind of talk about in your experience, kind of a way for us to connect and we kind of peek in on how you're doing in your own personal assessment of how you're doing in that particular week. All I ask, is if you see on here, it says just weekly. So how many do I have to do, Chris? Well, it's every week that you're out in clinical. So if you're only out in clinical, practicum, same words. If you're out in practicum for 12 weeks and you've completed your 120 hours in those 12 weeks, every week you got 12 submissions on the weekly reflection. Same thing with the hour logs. There's not a specific number of logs as long as you keep every week that you're out in clinical that you have a log sheet. Now, some of you again may finish in 12 weeks. Some of you may go to 16. So it really depends. Kind of flexible here on how we do this. But again, every week that you're out, I need a reflection on that. Again, you'll just complete that within the Canvas environment, and that will be pretty easy to do. So there you go. You notice this is not too difficult. Students haven't anybody. No one has ever failed. No one has ever failed practicum because you basically just do your hours, write your reflection piece, do your executive summary, your weekly reflections, your site evaluations, and pretty easy stuff. The hard thing about the course is what you're doing on that day-to-day basis and what you're learning kind of on the job with those preceptors. That's a lot of the essential learning is happening in there. And that's really evident by the number of hours that you're doing. But I want to make sure those number of hours are quality hours. So that's where the reflection kind of helps me get a vibe on making sure that you're getting a quality experience. You're just not cleaning the stock room every day. Now, you might be asked to clean the stock room or whatever occasionally, but that shouldn't be the bulk of your experience. All right, so that's a little bit on how this course is graded. If you need to contact me, best way to do that is through text message. I am going to, well, let's just go ahead and put this on here right now. My cell phone number is 419 344 7919. Okay, so don't hesitate to text message me. I really prefer that you text me if you have any issues at all when you're out there in clinical. Okay. So do text. Do not be hesitant on doing that. I'm trying to talk and type at the same time. Not so good for me. All right, so there we go. Let's talk a little bit about that practicum log sheets. Again, they're pretty easy. Just fill out the hours in here, have your preceptor sign it, scan it. How do I scan? I don't have a scanner, Chris. We all got scanners nowadays. Grab a phone, click a picture. There's even some great PDF scanners for phones out there. PDFs are a little bit better for uploading, but JPEGs are fine too. If you don't know what that is, just get any scanner app out there. You can get some for free. Or at worst case scenario, just take a picture with your phone and then take that JPEG, which is a image file, and then you can upload that to the Canvas assignment Dropbox for the week. Again, just have one of these for every week that you're out there. All right, so that pretty much concludes everything we needed to talk about for this week. If you have any questions, remember what to do. Text me is your best way to do it. As I'm reminded, as I kind of hear the wind rustling out my window about inclement weather, um, if there's any situations with weather this semester, and I imagine there will be, that might impact your, if you don't feel safe about traveling, please do not. Do not travel if you do not feel safe. If the college is closed, if you get the notice that college is closed, for those of you that are doing any kind of local preceptorships, if the college is closed and you live in this Toledo, Northwest Ohio area, we do not want you to go closed because of inclement weather. We do not want you to go to practicum. If the college is open, but you do not feel safe in your particular area, there's ice, there's snow, there's whatever, you don't feel safe, you are not required to go. I don't want you to go. Use your own judgment. But what I do ask is that you definitely notify the preceptor, just as if you were going, if it was a job. Hi, I'm sorry, I won't be on today. Roads are completely iced over. Can't get out of my driveway. Let your preceptor know, okay, that you're not going to be there because I don't want them to call me looking for you. So make sure you let your preceptor know, and then let me know too. Just send me a text message. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm not going to make it to practicum today. Uh, my driveway is snowed in, can't get out. Okay, totally understand. Just so I know in case the preceptor does happen to connect with me somehow, that I can at least tell them that you were unable to get out. But the standard protocol is contact your preceptor first, then contact me to let me know that you can't make clinical, or maybe it's another reason. If it's something other than inclement weather, maybe illness or what have you, family emergency. Again, that's okay too. But just let everybody in that chain of command that's working with you, know about your absence. So we just know you didn't. You don't want the dreaded no call, no show. That could be reason where a preceptor site will kick out a student. That has happened. So make sure you don't do the no call, no show. It looks terrible. So just let everybody know if anything does happen. And all of our preceptor sites have been very, very accommodating with that. They do understand kind of the nature of what you all have to do. So, all right, so there you go. I think we have all of that covered. Again, any questions, don't hesitate to text me, and usually I can get back to you within minutes, if not a few hours. All right, thanks everybody, and have a great week.